What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 266. We have Brian Ortega going against Alexander Volkanovski. I cannot wait for the main event, and I cannot wait for this card as a whole. It is stacked top to bottom, one of the best cards of the year, and I'm really looking forward to it. I will actually be at the event as well. Really looking forward to it. I was supposed to go to an event prior to the whole COVID thing. Got canceled. I think it was like the very last event before COVID came around. So looking forward to finally going to a live event. It's been forever since I've been to one, and I'm looking forward to going to an absolute banger like this one right here. Before we get started and get into everything, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. If we can get 500 likes, that'd be awesome. It's a big card, it's a pay-per-view, and then as always, since it is a pay-per-view and a big card, I'm going to be doing my significant strike contest, give out some free money, give back to you guys here. So first, as always, to enter the contest, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then third, comment how many significant strikes you think that Ortega and Volkanovski are going to combine for. Whoever gets the closest, you win $25. If there is a tie, whoever commented first between the two gets the winnings there. I usually do the DraftKings contest, but I will be in Vegas, so I won't be able to send those out. I'll be looking to do another contest on my betting breakdown video out on Saturday, so looking forward to that. Yeah, as far as the card goes, looking forward to it. I do have 3 bets already, and then 4 if you want to include a 3-leg parlay. I had 2 legs hit last week, and then I have 1 leg to finish up that parlay for this week. But if you do want early access to my bets and much, much more, you can check out the Patreon. I have one pretty big play for this week. Really looking forward to that. With that, you get my access to my betting article. I do a Hail Mary parlay on there that's hit a good amount of times this year. And then, of course, early access to my bets, which I think is the most important thing there. The stat model as well, which is huge. All the stats you need. So go check that out. It helps me out. Hopefully helps you guys out as well. $10 a month. Very, very cheap there. So enough with the plugs. I say we get into it, starting with the first fight of the night, and they're going to start the card off with a banger here. We have Omar Morales going against Jonathan Pierce. We have Morales, who is 35 years old, 5'11", with a 74-inch reach, 11-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jonathan Pierce, he is 29 years old, 6 foot, 71.5-inch reach, 10-4, and then 4-1 in his last 5 fights. So yeah, Omar Morales is getting up there in age in terms of a featherweight, 35 years old. And the Jonathan Pierce is, of course, going to be 6 years younger. He's going to have a 1-inch height advantage, but he's going to have a 3.5-inch reach disadvantage there. We take a look at the odds here to start off the breakdown, and we see that Omar Morales is a favorite, opened up -190, currently -150. And then Jonathan Pierce opened up +165, and he's currently +130. First of all, what I'll say is I think that Jonathan Pierce is very, very, very exciting. He's a very exciting fighter, but with being exciting, he leaves a lot of holes in his game. Jonathan Pierce is extremely hittable. He throws a ton of output. He's crazy. He's wild. He has great cardio. He has a great pace, and he pushes that pace all throughout the fight up until he gets a finish. But he's just so hittable, and I looked through the record of Omar Morales. He's not really a knockout guy, but it looks like he hits hard. He only has 2 knockouts on his record, and I think, Omar Morales is going to be the better striker in this fight, but Jonathan Pierce brings the pace, he brings the pressure, he brings the wrestling as well. With that said, Omar Morales seems like he has very good takedown defense. On paper, he actually has an 87% takedown defense. He hasn't really fought anybody that's going to consistently try to take him down like I think Pierce will, but showed a good takedown defense nonetheless. I believe he's a black belt in BJJ as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough fight for Pierce here. I like a lot of what he brings to the table, but there's just so many holes in his game that I think Morales can take advantage, whether it is potentially, knocking him out. Like, he is very hittable. He really relies on his chin, and I don't know if you want to do that against Morales, or if Pierce shoots in for a sloppy takedown, which he does a ton, Morales being a black belt could potentially get a submission as well. I will say, as the fight goes on, it does favor Pierce, though, so it could be a potential live betting situation if you do see Morales, start slowing down. Pierce does not slow down. That's what he's good at. He has an unlimited gas tank, but I think Morales, at the very least, will win those first 2 rounds, maybe loses that third, or potentially even finishes Pierce early. I think both outcomes are live there. I'm gonna say he knocks out Pierce. I'm gonna say he knocks out Jonathan Pierce. I'm gonna say this is going to be an absolute war. I think there's some seriously huge gaping holes in the game of Jonathan Pearson. That is that striking defense. That is the sloppiness. He's exciting. He really is. But you don't want to be hittable against Omar Morales. I'll say Omar Morales does knock him out early, but if he does not get Pierce out of there, Pierce is going to be coming forward the entire fight at 120%. I could see Pierce having success late, but I'm going to say that Morales does get him out of there early. I'm going to say he gets him out there with some type of finish, whether it is a knockout or a sub. I'll say first round knockout for Omar Morales. Should be a very, very exciting fight as long as it lasts. All right, moving along. Matt Semelsberger going against Martin Sano. We have Semelsberger, who is 28 years old, 6'1", with a 75-inch reach, 8-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Martin Sano, 30 years old, 5'11", 74-inch reach, 4-2-1 and 2-2-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and Semelsberger is one of the biggest favorites on the entire card. Opened up -160, which is crazy, and he's currently -500. Martin Sano opened up +140, and he is currently +375. So yeah, I believe Semelsberger, that makes him the second biggest favorite behind one Valentina Shevchenko. And the reason Semelsberger is such a big favorite, I'm not too high on Semelsberger, but this matchup just makes no sense to me. Sano's coming in here, a buddy of Nick Diaz. That's the reason he's on a card. I checked his Instagram, tons of pictures with him and Nick Diaz, and he has a purple belt. But watching tape on Martin Sano, I went in looking for what is this guy good at. And I come out of taping it, and I'm still confused. Like what is this guy good at? Like, he has no takedown defense, decent ground game. Cardio is horrible. The striking's not there. I really don't know what Martin Sano is good at. I guess he's a decent grappler, if anything, but he gets stuck on his back, doesn't have much to offer in general, and a lot of his wins are against, first of all, he has a win over Jeff Neal whenever it was like Jeff Neal's second fight, but other than that, like, he has a lot of wins over guys that they gas out, and then he takes advantage and finishes them. But yeah, he's getting beat and against some really low-level guys. So take a look at it. His last fight was 4 years and 6 months ago against Diego Herzog, a very close fight. I personally thought he lost. Prior to that, he lost against Don Muhammad by knockout. I wasn't able to watch that fight. And then prior to that, lost a decision against Waters. I was able to watch that one. So the last time he fought was 4 years and 6 months ago. The last time he won a fight was 7 years and 5 months ago. And he is now making his UFC debut. So you definitely see why he is such a big underdog here, right? Like, if he shows up and looks what he looked like from fights, against Roberts here, against Water, if he shows up and looks like the guy he did 5 years ago, Semelsberger is not only going to look -500, he's going to look -2,000. But, he was young. He took a 5-year layoff. He could have leveled up. He could have came back, and maybe he looks better. I mean, he can't look any worse, right? So it's really sketchy. It's a sketchy fight. I think Semelsberger is the rightful favorite. I do think he should smoke this guy, but you never know. 4 years and 6 months is a long time. Maybe he did level up a little bit, but you got to go Semelsberger here. From what I see, Semelsberger should absolutely smash this guy. But there are a lot of question marks in this fight for me. Doesn't really make sense, but I guess Nick Diaz, his buddy, gets to be on the card with him, and that's all that matters. But yeah, Semelsberger, give me Semelsberger by second round knockout. I don't think Sano has the takedown defense, the cardio, the striking, anything to compete with Matt Semelsberger here. And with all that said, I'm not a big Semelsberger guy. So just shows you how low I am on Sano, but you never know. Maybe he can come in here and surprise us, but I doubt it. Give me Matt Semelsberger by second round knockout. All right, moving on, we have a interesting fight, another fight that's pretty hard to call here. You have Karl Roberson going against Nick Maximov. You have Roberson, who is 30 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach, 9-4 and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Nick Maximov, he is 23 years old, 6 foot, with a 76-inch reach, 6-0. Obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and they're very close. Karl Roberson opened up +120. He's now -103. And Maximov opened up -140. He's now -117. So it's an interesting matchup because you think of Karl Roberson, right? And what is his downfall? His downfall is that takedown defense, sitting at 45%. His downfall is he's been submitted in every single one of his losses. 4 submission losses, right? That's how you take advantage of Karl Roberson. You take him down, you submit him, right? What does Nick Maximov do? He's a grappler. He's a grappler and he's a wrestler. I think he's a brown belt in BJJ. He competes in grappling tournaments outside of MMA there. So he's definitely solid. He really is, but there's a huge gap in the level of competition. You take a look at Maximov. He came in on the Contender Series against Oscar Cota, and Cota's a heavyweight. This was at heavyweight. Cota weighed in around 260 pounds, 264 around there, and then Maximov weighed in at 209. And Maximov went in there and out-wrestled Cota for 3 rounds, which was, impressive. It was impressive, but that was probably his best, guy he fought in his entire career. Other than that, it's, very low level guys. Johnny James, Robert Allensworth, who was 1-10, Will Hope, who's 0-0. Just guys like that, very low level guys. And what I will say about Nick Maximov is, first of all, I'm not totally sold on the guy. I'm not overly impressed with the guy, but what he does is he does fight to a game plan. He knows his strengths, and he goes to them, and he goes to them early. I swear, every fight I watch of Maximov, pretty much for the most part, he shoots a takedown within the first 10 seconds, and I like seeing that out of the guy, but he just has not fought anybody, relevant, to be honest, and, this is going to be a huge step up in competition. He's making his UFC debut. I don't know. It's a tough fight to call, because you take a look at Karl Roberson, right? And, yes, he's losing by submission. Yes, he's getting taken down. But these are the guys that have submitted him. Brendan Allen, black belt in BJJ. Marvin Vettori, phenomenal grappler. Glover Teixeira, phenomenal grappler, black belt. Cesar Ferreira, phenomenal grappler, black belt. Those are the 4 guys that have submitted Karl Roberson. And to be fair, I was actually somewhat impressed about, Karl Roberson's grappling at times. He looks good at times. It's just he makes these mistakes and ends up getting submitted. I did like what I saw in the Wellington Turman fight. Wellington Turman, obviously a black belt, very good grappler himself. He was able to have success on the mat with Wellington Turman. But yeah, it's just, Marvin Vettori submits him, Allen submits him to Teixeira and Cesar Ferreira. There's no shame in that, right? Maximov is nowhere near the caliber of those guys. That's what makes this fight so tough to call, because, you see the path to victory from Maximov. He fights to that path to victory, and, that's what Roberson struggles with. But again, Roberson has fought the much better competition. He's going to have a massive striking advantage. You got to imagine, because I've never seen Maximov strike. All I've seen is him take these guys down and nonstop, either submit them or right out to a decision. So, yeah, I'm going to actually take Roberson here. I don't feel completely great about it, but I think it's the right spot. Again, fought the better competition. He's going to have a massive striking advantage, experience advantage, and I just need to see a little bit more of Maximov. He looks extremely one-dimensional to me, and maybe he comes out here and grapples and wrestles Roberson for 15 minutes and gets a decision, or maybe he even submits Roberson for the 5th time. We'll definitely see, but I got to go with the experience, the level of competition, and the striking of Karl Roberson. But yeah, it's a fight that really does sketch me out. But I'll take Roberson by decision. All right, next we have a very fun fight here. We have Manon Fiorot going against Mara Buena Silva. We have Fiorot. She is 31 years old, 5'7", with a 66-inch reach, 7-1 and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Then we have going against Mara Buena Silva, 30 years old, 5'6", with a 66.5-inch reach, 7-1 and 1. And 3-1 in her last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and we do see that Manon Fiorot is a favorite, opening up minus 400, currently minus 235, and then Mara Bueno Silva opening up plus 330 and currently plus 200. So Manon Fiorot is a big favorite. I guess one thing I want to point out about Manon Fiorot, which is pretty interesting to me, so she closed as a minus 200 favorite against Victoria Leonardo, opening up minus 110. I did better in that fight. I think I better around minus 140. But it's just crazy to think about. Manon Fiorot closed at minus 200 against Victoria Leonardo, and she's even a bigger favorite here against Mara Bueno Silva. Mara Bueno Silva would destroy Leonardo in 30 seconds. But yeah, I'm very high on Fiora. I've been on her since her UFC debut. I've made money on her. I think she's very good. I think she has a very bright future. I like a lot of what I see. This is going to be her very first test in her career. Like, she has fought, Tabitha Ricci, does not really do much for me. Obviously, Victoria Leonardo, probably both those fighters are not UFC caliber fighters. This is going to be her very first test. And I do think she passes it. Something that really stuck out to me from the Bueno Silva side is she has 0 takedowns attempted in her 5 or 6 UFC fights. 0 takedowns attempted, and I really don't like that for her. If she's going to win this fight, you got to imagine that she's going to get it down to the mat and potentially submit Fiora, because Bueno Silva is very, very dangerous on the mat. Very good submissions, and she's dangerous everywhere, but if she's going to win this fight, she needs to get it down on the mat. You got to think, right? Mana Fiora, though, she showed some phenomenal takedown defense. She's able to stuff every single takedown of Ricci. She only shot, I think, like 1 or 2, but she looked good. She looked good, and even then, like, Bueno Silva has not attempted any takedowns. I don't like that for her. If this fight does play outstanding, like I do think it will be, you got to favor Fiora, right? Like, she's going to be the better striker. She's more defensively sound. Bueno Silva has a negative significant strike differential, negative 0.83. She has a 47% striking defense. She's very hittable. And although Silva's very dangerous, I don't think she's the better striker. So I do see why Fiora's the favorite. Do I think she should be this big of a favorite? Not really. I mean, she's not, like, tested, but this is definitely a fight where I think she could win. If that takedown threat is not there, and it hasn't shown to be, Silva's not shown to shoot any takedowns, and if this does stay outstanding, this is going to be a very, very good fight. You got to think for Mana Fiora. But with that said, Silva's very dangerous herself. She's very dangerous herself. She was hurting Montana De La Rosa very, very bad. She bloodied up Marina Moroz very, very bad. She's dangerous, but as is Fiora. So I'm going to take Fiora to win. I'm actually going to take her to win. I'll say by decision. I'll say by decision. Bueno Silva is very, very tough. I'll say Mana Fiora does win a 15-minute decision, but it's going to be a good fight. I'm glad to see Mana Fiora finally get her very first test of her career. Bueno Silva's no slouch whatsoever. So give me Mana Fiora to win, and give me Mana Fiora to win by decision. All right, next we have, in my opinion, like, this is probably my favorite fight on the card outside of the main event, the co-main event, and the Lawler Diaz fight. This is my favorite prelim by a mile. This fight is going to be so exciting. Both guys I like a ton. Both guys are very exciting fighters and finishers as well. So we have Uros Medici going against Jalen Turner. Medici is 28 years old, 6'1", with a 71-inch reach, 7-0, obviously 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Jalen Turner, 26 years old, 6'3", 75.5-inch reach, 10-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So Jalen Turner is huge for lightweight. I have no clue how he makes this weight. 6'3" at lightweight is just insane. He's going to have a 2-inch height advantage. He's going to have a 4.5-inch reach advantage. Even on like Sherdog, I think it was like a 6-inch reach advantage it showed for Turner as well. So he's going to have a big size advantage regardless. So we'll take a look at the odds, and they are pretty close, really, as they should be. This fight can go so many ways. Jalen Turner opened up plus 160. He's now minus 106. Uros Medici opened up minus 185. He's currently minus 114, and it definitely should be a pick'em here. As far as how the fight goes, Medici is a madman. You take a look at his Contender Series fight in his UFC debut, right? He outlands Mikey Gonzalez 32-2. And then his UFC debut against Alon Cruz, he outlands Cruz 45-0. That is just, that's crazy. That is crazy. But what I will say is, I don't think Alon Cruz or Mikey Gonzalez are UFC caliber. Cruz just recently got cut from the UFC, I believe. This is going to be Medici's very first test, in my opinion. I mean, you take a look at his fights outside of the Contender Series in the UFC. He was on the Alaskan fight scene. Very sketchy opponents on there. And going back and watching some of that tape, there were a lot of red flags that I saw in Medici. First of all, he's never been past 6 minutes in a fight. He went to the second round once in a fight that he was losing that first round. He got taken down multiple times. He showed poor takedown defense. He showed a poor get-up game. But he came out in that second round and starched some dude. but it just shows you that he can be taken down, and he hasn't really been extended much. I mean, like I said, the second round one time, so I'm curious to see what happens if this fight does hit the second round. What is Uros Medic going to look like? And, I don't know if we're going to find that out, because this guy fights like an absolute madman. As far as Jalen Turner goes, I see a lot of improvements in this guy. He's somebody that is very long and rangy, and a lot of guys don't really use their range well, but Jalen Turner is somebody that does use it well. Very good jab, very good output as well, and 6.2 significant strikes per minute, and he's been looking very good. After that Matt Frevola loss back in 2019, where Frevola just took him down 4 times throughout the fight and won a decision, came back against Josh Kulabau, and he dominated Josh Kulabau, got him down to the mat multiple times, ended up finishing him in that second round, and then knocked out Brock Weaver. He knocked him out like 5 times in that fight. His striking looked legit. And what I saw in the Brock Weaver and the Kulabau fight was, his grappling, it looks really good. I believe he's a brown belt in BJJ. He was able to, use his wrestling a little bit. He took down Brock Weaver, and I think he should definitely go to that route here and take down Uros Medic, take him down, use that ground game, because I have seen a Medic taken down by some extremely sketchy competition. So I do think Turner needs to do that. Obviously, like, Turner's fought the much better competition. He's fought Brock Weaver, who people used to be high on, believe it or not. He fought Vicente Luque, Matt Frevola. So I think he's fought the better competition. He's more experienced. He's been later into fights, unlike a Medic here, and I'm going to pick Turner for the win. I'm fully aware that Medic can come out here and starch him in 30 seconds. That is definitely on the table. But, if this does get extended, if Turner does use his ground game, I think he's going to have an advantage there. I really do. And then on top of that, if this does get into the second round, don't think it's getting to the third, but the second round, I think Turner's going to have the advantage there as well. So I'm going to take Turner. I think he has more paths to victory. I think he's the more well-rounded fighter in this fight. But Medic is hot. He's on fire. And he very well could knock out Turner. That is definitely on the table, but I'm going to side with the more experienced guy, the more tested guy, and the guy that has more paths to victory. Am I going to bet Jalen Turner? Absolutely not. Am I going to bet some violence? You bet it. You betcha. You betcha I am. I think it's a great violent spot for this fight right here. So, yeah, I'll take Turner. Give me second round submission for Jalen Turner. Moving on. So this is going to close out my parlay. I had 2 legs hit last week, Blanchfield and Sarukian, and then I have Santos in the third leg here. So hopefully it hits. But yeah, I do like Santos in this fight, as you can already tell. We have Santos. She is 28 years old, 5'6", with a 68-inch reach, 17-1 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Roxanne Ferry, 38 years old, 5'7", 68-inch reach, or 69-inch reach, 25-18 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and Santos is a pretty big favorite, opening up at -225, currently -400. And then Roxanne Ferry opened up +190. She is currently +300. So the thing I want to emphasize this week to potentially save some people some money is, when you're researching this fight, do yourself a favor and don't go and watch the Mara Morella fight with Tala Santos. I've made that mistake, as have many other people in the past couple fights with Santos, and we've lost money. Against Molly McCann. Molly McCann was like the most popular bet of the week. Santos looked like trash against Mara Morella in her debut. And then she's a favorite against Molly McCann there. I believe I bet Molly McCann at like -120. She closed at like -200 just about. And not only did Santos look like a favorite in that fight, she dominated Molly McCann, taking her down 5 times, just beating the crap out of her. And I was like, this is not the same fighter that fought against Mara Morella. This is not the same fighter at all. And then she fights Jillian Robertson. It's still in the back of my head, right? Oh, Mara Morella, she lost to her. Morella is one of the worst UFC fighters in the women's division ever. Still in the back of my head, right? And she goes out there against Jillian Robertson. I'm not sure what the line was, but I'm sure it was very close. And she not only looks like a big favorite in that fight, she just completely dominates. She dominates Jillian Robertson for 15 minutes, taking her down, having no respect for the ground game of Jillian Robertson, taking her down, holding her down there for 15 minutes, staying out of submission, staying out of trouble. And she just looks like a completely different fighter from then, the Robertson and McCann fight, to the Barella fight, her debut. Completely different fighter. So just want to caution everybody, if you want to save some money, don't watch that fight. Don't be tempted in betting Roxanne Modafferi this week. Just don't do it. Taila Santos is the real deal. She's somebody to definitely look out for. She is, phenomenal everywhere. She is going to have the advantage in this fight pretty much everywhere. She's going to be younger by 10 years. She's going to be the better striker. She's going to be stronger. She's going to be the better wrestler. She's just going to have every single advantage in this fight. But, we know Roxy, she can always, pull off an underdog win. And all 3 of her wins in the UFC have been underdog wins. She had a win over Andrea Lee. Andrea Lee was like minus 350. She had a win over Macy Barber. Macy Barber was like minus 1,000. She had a win over Antonina Shevchenko. Antonina Shevchenko was around minus 300. So when she does win as a big dog. She's never been a favorite, I don't believe, in the UFC. I think the closest she was to being a favorite was that Lauren Murphy fight. It was like close to a pick'em, but this is a fight where I just really struggle to see a path to victory for Roxanne Modafferi. I think Santos has her covered everywhere. If Santos wants to keep this on the feet for 15 minutes, outstrike Modafferi, I think she can do that. If Santos wants to take down Roxanne Modafferi, exploit Roxanne Modafferi's bad takedown defense, controller like she did in the Jillian Robertson fight for 15 minutes, I think she can do that as well. Just don't really see a path to victory for Modafferi, to be honest. So, yeah, give me Santos here. I'm going to take Santos to win a very dominant decision, whether it is just outstriking her for 15 minutes, potentially hurting Modafferi, or just taking her down, ground and pound, and maybe getting her out of there. But I'll say a dominant decision for Taila Santos. I think she does get it done. But, yeah, I do think Taila Santos is the real deal and somebody to look out for. And you shouldn't judge somebody by the very first UFC fight. For example, Rong Zhu, he looked horrible in his UFC debut. Everybody was on Jenkins, and then Rong Zhu looked very good. So, and then on top of that, like Santos was talking about her UFC debut, she was having like severe anxiety for the fight, for her debut. And then that's why she kind of looked like crap out there, I guess. I mean, I don't know. You never know. UFC debut, she had some anxiety. She looked bad, but she looks like a completely different fighter than she did in that Barella fight. And I think she continues her domination against Roxanne Modafferi here by decision. All right, moving on. This is a fight that we were supposed to see a couple different cards ago, and Shamil keeps pulling out. He keeps pulling out of the fight. I'm not sure why, but we have Daukaus going against Shamil Abdurakhimov. Hopefully this fight stays on. It's been canceled like 2 or 3 times at this point. Daukaus, 31 years old, 6'3", with a 76-inch reach, 11-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Shamil Abdurakhimov, he is 40 years old, 6'3", 76-inch reach, 20-5, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we will take a look at the odds here. We have Chris Daukaus opening at minus 140. He's currently minus 210. Shamil opening up plus 120, and he is currently plus 180. So some major things to point out here. Shamil Abdurakhimov has not fought in 2 years against Curtis Blaydes. It's been 2 years since Shamil has fought. He is now 40 years old. He's had some health problems outside of the cage. I believe it was like a punctured lung or something like that outside of the cage. He's been dealing with some crap and, pulling out of fights. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully this fight stays on, but you never know. Like, he's pulled out of a ton of fights as of late, so we'll see. But just seems like Shamil has a lot against him here. The 40 years old, the health problems, the layoff. It's just not a good look coming against a very hungry guy in Chris Daukaus, somebody that's been on fire in Chris Daukaus. Chris Daukaus, you go back and you look at some of his fights from, say 2015, 2016, and compare him to himself now, right? He's made so many improvements, not only in his game, but physically as well. He looks like a completely different person. If you compare some of his Instagram pictures now back compared to like 2015, back when there were some red flags, him getting taken down, him gassing out after a round, I don't think that same Chris Daukaus exists anymore. He looks good. He looks very good. He's taking MMA serious. He just quit his full-time police officer job to become a full-time MMA fighter, training full-time now. So you can tell he's taking it serious, and you can tell that he's lost some weight, he's gained some muscle, and he's looking good. He's looking very good. Shamil, I think he's a very underrated fighter, right? Like, you take a look at some of the fighters that Shamil has fought, guys like Curtis Blaydes, right? Guys like Derek Lewis, He's beat guys like Tybura, guys like Arlovsky, guys like Chase Sherman and Walt Harris. So he's fighting some really good competition. So this will actually be a step down for Shamil, going from Curtis Blaydes to Chris Daukaus. And this will be a big step up in competition for Chris Daukaus, going from Alexei Oleinik, Rogerio Nascimento, and Parker Porter to Shamil. But like I said, I think there's a lot of things going against Shamil here. The age, the layoff, I think it's a big factor. Chris Daukaus is a black belt. I think if Shamil takes him down, maybe Chris Daukaus can show that black belt. He has not shown it yet in the UFC, but maybe show some grappling in this fight. But I think Chris Daukaus is going to stuff the takedowns, and on the feet, it should be Chris Daukaus all day. So much more volume, so much more speed, and so much more power as well. I think Chris Daukaus knocks out Shamil. Shamil's been knocked out 3 times, but I think it's going to be a fourth here. So give me Chris Daukaus to win, and give me Chris Daukaus to get another first round knockout, making it 4 first round knockouts in the UFC. All right, next we have a very interesting fight here. We have Dan Hooker going against Nasrat Haqparast, and there's a ton of red flags in this fight. I'd recommend just not betting this one. Dan Hooker just recently got his visa as soon as like last night, and I guess he's taking off from New Zealand to Vegas. He's going to arrive in Vegas like Thursday night, and then he's going to cut weight and make weight Friday morning, and that is insane. It's like about a 20-hour flight, right? And he's going to make weight. That is the biggest red flag ever. That's a huge red flag. Like I'd be shocked if he makes weight. Props to him. That is going to be tough, because some guys can't even make weight without going on a 20-hour flight. So we'll see. I do want to see weigh-ins for this fight. If Dan Hooker looks good, I'll be a little bit more confident in him. But if he does look bad, it might be a spot to maybe fade him here, because I don't know. I mean, he's got a lot to deal with here in this fight. With all that said, I think this is a good spot for Dan Hooker. I wish that wasn't the case. I wish he arrived to Vegas at a normal time, because if he did, I'd be betting him here. I mean, Dan Hooker has fought the much better competition, and it's not even close. He just lost to Michael Chandler, who fought for a title. He lost to, Dustin Poirier, who's going to fight for a title. He beat Paul Felder, Al Iaquinta, beat James Vick, lost to Edson Barbosa. His last 3 losses, Barbosa, Chandler, and Poirier. And you have Nasrat Haqparast, and he's fighting guys like Rafa Garcia, Alexander Munoz. He lost to Drew Dober by knockout. Joaquim Silva, guys like that. So this is going to be a massive step up in competition for Nasrat Haqparast, to say the least. And it's going to be a massive step down for Dan Hooker. So I wish it wasn't the case. I wish Dan Hooker was arriving at a normal time. So many red flags. I need to see the weigh-ins. For this fight. But I'm still going to pick Dan Hooker, I guess. I think he's the better fighter. If he shows up, somewhat near 100%, right? I think Dan Hooker is the much better fighter. I think he's the much more well-rounded fighter. I think he's fought the better competition. He's more experienced, and I think he's a lot better than Nasrat Haqparast. It's just about the 20-hour flight, arriving Thursday night, cutting weight, making weight Friday. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to stick with Hooker. I'll stick with Hooker to win. I'll take Hooker to win by knockout, but you can't be confident on either side of this fight, right? There's just so many red flags to talk about. But yeah, I'll take Dan Hooker for the win I'll say by knockout. All right, so moving along, we have Merab Dvalishvili going against Marlon Moraes. It should be a very exciting fight here, as are all Merab fights. I do like Merab in his style as well. We have Merab Dvalishvili, who is 30 years old, 5'6", with a 68-inch reach, 13-4, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Marlon Moraes, 33 years old, 5'6", with a 66.5-inch reach, 23, 8-1, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds, and we do have Merab as a minus 235 favorite, opening up minus 110. Marlon Moraes opening up minus 110 as well, currently plus 200. So, yeah, this fight is, I mean, I want to say it's a tough fight to call, but, I think there's going to be a clear winner as far as a pick goes, and that's going to be the Merab Dvalishvili side. It's just, I don't know, it's a step up in competition, right? Like Merab fighting guys like John Dodson, Gustavo Lopez, Casey Kenny, bracketona, where Marlon Moraes, he's fighting guys like Rob Font, Corey Sandhagen, Jose Aldo, Henry Cejudo, Rafael Assunção, Jimmy Rivera. It's going to be a very interesting test here for Merab Dvalishvili, because Marlon Moraes fought for a title about 2 years ago. It's been 2 years since he's fought for a title. He's now 31 years old. He has not been looking good, but again, he's fighting killers, right? Henry Cejudo. He's fighting, Corey Sandhagen. He's fighting Rob Font. Those are really tough matchups. Marlon Moraes is very, very dangerous, but he's dangerous for about a round. He's a very good fighter in that first round, and I think Merab Dvalishvili is going to really have to mind his P's and Q's in terms of the striking, because I do think Marlon Moraes is the better striker. He's very dangerous, and Merab really needs to be careful in that first round. In terms of the submission game, Marlon Moraes is very dangerous on the mat as well. Multiple submissions on his record. So if Merab does go for a takedown, he needs to watch his neck. He has been guillotined before. And Marlon Moraes, he could snatch up something in that first round. It's just the problem with Moraes, and the reason why I am picking Merab Dvalishvili is going to be the pace. You're taking someone in Marlon Moraes who has one of the worst gas tanks in the division against somebody in Merab Dvalishvili who pushes one of the highest paces in the division. Like that, you got to lean Merab, right? You got to pick Merab. It's just Marlon Moraes is going to be extremely dangerous in that first round, and that's what I do worry about. I can even see Marlon Moraes winning that first round, but I think a round is about all he has. After that round is over, Merab's going to continue to push the pace, and I think Merab's going to drown him, potentially round 3 finish, but if not, a decision win. Merab is a decisionator. So many decision wins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decision wins in the UFC, and I think he probably gets a 7th here against Marlon Moraes. But yeah, it's going to be a tough test. It's going to be a tough test. It's going to be a tough first round, but I do think Merab Dvalishvili does get that decision, survives the first, takes over, pushes that pace, and I don't think Marlon Moraes is going to be able to hang, and I think he's going to slow down like he always does, and I think Merab does end up with a decision win there. Should be a really fun fight. Can't wait for that one. All right, moving on. Jessica Andrade going against Cynthia Calvillo. Should be an interesting fight here as well. Andrade coming off of a beating against Valentina Shevchenko, which, no shame in that, but yeah, that was bad. Jessica Andrade, she is 29 years old though, 5'1" with a 62-inch reach, 21-9 and 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Cynthia Calvillo, she is 34 years old, 5'4", 64-inch reach, 9-2 and 1 and 2-2 and 1 in her last 5 fights. So I do want to get into some stats for this fight, but we'll take a look at the odds here. And we have Jessica Andrade as a pretty big favorite, opening at -230, currently -250, and then Cynthia Calvillo opening up +195, and she's currently +210. So getting to the striking stats a little bit, Jessica Andrade is a volume machine. She throws a ton. She lands 6.15 significant strikes per minute with a 50% accuracy, absorbing 5.2 significant strikes per minute with a positive significant strike differential of 0.95, and it has a 52% striking defense, which is not great, but the volume definitely makes up for it. The power makes up for it. Cynthia Calvillo, she does land 4.18 with a 41% accuracy. It does absorb 3.52 significant strikes per minute with a positive 0.66 significant strike differential and a 67% striking defense there. So yeah, I favor Andrade on the feet quite a bit, to be honest. I think she's going to be the better striker. She has a ton of power. I think she can even hurt Cynthia Calvillo as well. On the ground, this is where it gets tricky. So I guess my only concern on the Andrade side is going to be if Cynthia Calvillo can kind of work in a wrestling-heavy game plan and take down Andrade and control her on top. But I think that's going to be easier said than done. Cynthia Calvillo does average 1.85 takedowns per 15 minutes, has a 44% accuracy, does have a 71% takedown defense. Jessica Andrade, she does average about 3 takedowns per 15 minutes, has a 55% takedown accuracy, and she has a 66% takedown defense. I think Jessica Andrade more than likely does stuff the takedowns. If she does get taken down, I see her popping right back up, and on the feet, I think she's going to punish Cynthia Calvillo, potentially get her out of there. That's where I'm kind of struggling. Do I think Andrade is going to knock out Calvillo, maybe submit her even, or do I think she's going to win a decision? I guess I'm kind of leaning towards the decision side. So I'll take Jessica Andrade to win by decision. I think she's the better fighter. She's fought the much better competition. It's not even close. and I will take her to win a pretty dominant decision here, more than likely. So give me Jessica Andrade. All right, moving along. We have Curtis Blaydes, the return of Curtis Blaydes, going against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Curtis Blaydes, 30 years old, 6'4", with an 80-inch reach, 14-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 33 years old, 6'4", 78-inch reach, 12-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So something interesting to note about this matchup is the level of competition. Both guys have very similar losses. Curtis Blaydes, of course, has lost to Francis Ngannou, and he has lost to Derek Lewis. And then as far as Rozenstruik goes, Rozenstruik has also lost to Francis Ngannou, and then he has also lost to Ciryl Gane. So both guys are losing to the best and the best in the division. So we take a look at the odds here, and we do see that Blaydes opened up minus 230. He's currently minus 300. And then Rozenstruik opened up plus 250. Or plus 195. He's currently plus 250. So Blaydes is a really big favorite here. And I'm pretty confident in Blaydes, about as confident as you can be in a heavyweight, because, Rozenstruik is somebody that he can be losing every single second of the fight up until landing that one shot. He proved it against Overeem in a fight where he was losing all 4 rounds. He was down 4 rounds on all 3 judges' scorecards. He comes out and he gets a knockout within the last 5 seconds of the fight. But there are a lot of red flags in the game of Rozenstruik. You go back to his UFC debut against Junior Albini back in 2019, February. Junior Albini was able to take him down twice. And he was not only able to take him down very easily, but he was able to get into mount very easily. Like, he got taken down, and then seconds after, Albini was into mount, threatening with submissions. If Curtis Blaydes gets into mount, he's going to finish Rozenstruik pretty handily, right? And then we saw Overeem take down Rozenstruik multiple times, and Rozenstruik showed that he, a little bit of improvements, right? But he still showed that he had nothing to offer off his back. Ciryl Gane took him down twice, and Gane, Overeem, and Albini were the only 3 fighters to attempt to take down Rozenstruik, and they all 3 were successful in doing so. And I think that Blaydes is a better wrestler easily than all 3 of them. I think it's going to be a very tough night for Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Of course, he has that power. Anything can happen. It's a heavyweight fight. But if Curtis Blaydes comes out here, shoots takedowns right away, I think he'll make it look easy and getting him down, first of all. And then second, I think he's going to make it easy in finishing Rozenstruik, getting into a very dominant position. And we know Curtis Blaydes has phenomenal ground and pound. I think he does pounds away and probably gets out Rozenstruik in that first round. So I'm going to say Curtis Blaydes does win by knockout, TKO, in that first round. But hey, it's heavyweight. Rozenstruik has power. Maybe Rozenstruik can catch him on the way in. But outside of like a Hail Mary, weird, flukish situation, I think Blaydes should just take him down and just win this fight easily. So I get why he's a big favorite. Am I going to parlay him up? No, it's heavyweight. I don't want to trust Blaydes at this price, but he should absolutely win, I think. Give me Curtis Blaydes by knockout. All right, next we have the return of Nick Diaz going against Robbie Lawler, and yeah, what a fight. I mean, I'm looking forward to this fight from a fan perspective, but as far as putting money on it, like, it's nearly impossible for me to do so. I see a ton of people betting on this fight, and I just don't see how anybody can have a good, clear read on this fight, because you really can't, right? Like, this fight is so tough to break down because there's so many unknowns, there's so many question marks. But as a fan, I'm looking forward to this fight, but as a predictor, as a bettor, not really, but I'm looking forward to watching. It's going to be a great fight. I'm looking forward to the return of Nick Diaz. This is going to be a fun fight. This is a 5-round fight, I do believe, unless they changed it, but yeah, 5-round fight. Non-title fight, 5-round fight. Should be very fun. But we do have Robbie Lawler. He is 39 years old, 5'11", 74-inch reach. He is 28-15, and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Nick Diaz, 38 years old, 6 foot, 76-inch reach, 26-9, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So some things to point out. First, the odds. It's a pick'em, and it should be a pick'em, right? Like, Lawler, slight, minus 111, and then Nick Diaz is minus 109. It should be a straight pick'em. Like, there is not any props I'd be looking at. There's no sides I'd be looking at. It's a straight pick'em, a fight I'm just going to sit back, relax, enjoy, and just watch the fight because there's just so many question marks. Robbie Lawler has not won a fight in 4 years and 1 month against Donald Cerrone. Since then, lost to Rafael dos Anjos, no shame in that. Ben Askren, kind of a weird, flukish submission after basically knocking him out. Colby Covington lost, no shame in that. Neil Magny lost, no shame in that. A year ago, we have not seen Robbie Lawler in a year. I believe he did move to Sanford MMA as well, which is nice to see. As far as Nick Diaz, we have not seen him fight in 6 years and 6 months. In that fight against Anderson Silva where, he was talking crap to him, he laid down at one point in the fight. That fight, we have not seen him in 6 years and 6 months, and he has not won a fight in 9 years and 9 months. 9 years and 9 months. I mean, it's impossible to bet this fight, right? Like, it's so impossible to bet this fight. As far as a pick, I mean, if I was picking as a fan, I'd pick Nick Diaz, as I'm sure a lot of people will, but I never pick as a fan, so I'm going to pick Robbie Lawler. Yes, he's looked horrible, but again, he's looked horrible against RDA. Ben Askren, flukish, loss there. Colby Covington, Magny, but at least, with that said, he's active. He's been active. He's been more active. I think he's fought like 8 or 9 times since Nick Diaz's last fought. So I'm going to take the more active guy, but to say I have any confidence on that pick at all, I'd be lying. So I'm going to sit back, watch this one as a fan. I'll take the more active guy. I have no clue what Nick Diaz is going to look like. I have somewhat of a clue what Robbie Lawler is going to look like, and it's not great, but at least he's more active. And again, like the last time Nick Diaz won a fight was in 9 years and 6 months. That's just 9 years and 9 months. That is just crazy to think about. So I'll go Robbie Lawler, but zero confidence. Don't hate on me for that pick. I'm picking the more active guy in Lawler, and don't bet this fight. Don't bet this fight. It makes no sense. Too much question marks. Moving on. Valentina Shevchenko going against lucky Lauren Murphy, and I think her luck has just ran out because I think Valentina Shevchenko destroys her. You take a look at Valentina. She is 33 years old, 5'5", with a 65.5-inch reach. As far as her record, 21-3 and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Lauren Murphy, she is 38 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach, 15-4 and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. But if you take a look at some of her fights, I thought they were clear losses. I mean, Joanne Calderwood outlands her by a ton in that first round, outlands her a ton in that third round, and she wins a decision against Joanne Calderwood. I thought she lost there. And then against Andrea Lee, she clearly loses to Andrea Lee, and then she somehow gets the decision after clearly it's really not debatable. It's not debatable. I thought Andrea Lee won, and I thought Joanne Calderwood won. So with that said, she's getting a title shot, right? Like, she's getting a title shot after potentially losing those 2 fights and, beating Aliyah Shakarova, who's not in the UFC anymore. I believe she got popped for something. Roxanne Modafferi, Mara Morella, who we talked about earlier, and now she's fighting Valentina Shevchenko. I'm gonna keep this one short. We see that Valentina Shevchenko is a big giant favorite, and for a big giant reason. Shevchenko opened up minus 800, and there's probably value on that. She's now minus 1,800, and the comeback on Murphy is plus 1,000. I just don't really see where Murphy has Valentina beat anywhere. You got to give Valentina the striking. You got to give Valentina the wrestling. You got to give Valentina the grappling. You got to give Valentina every single advantage in this fight outside of the pure size advantage, but that's not going to matter. I'm going to take Valentina Shevchenko to finish Lauren Murphy. Lauren Murphy is very tough, very durable. She's never been finished, but she's never fought Valentina Shevchenko or anyone near the caliber of a Valentina Shevchenko. So, yeah, easy pick, right? Easy pick. I think she finishes, and I think she finishes probably late in the fight. Like I said, Murphy's very tough. I think it does get extended, but I do think Shevchenko does find that finish later in the fight. So give me Valentina. I'll say like a 4th round TKO. And then we have the main event. I do want to remind you guys that me and Uncle Weezy broke down this main event on my channel, did a main event deep dive, went a lot into detail than I'm going to now. I'm going to give kind of a condensed version here, but go check that out if you have not yet. We have Alexander Volkanovski going against Brian Ortega. And yeah, it's going to be a very good fight. Looking forward to this main event. Volkanovski, he is 32 years old, 5'6", with a 71.5-inch reach, 22-1. And 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Brian Ortega, 30 years old, 5'8", 69-inch reach, 15-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and we do have Volkanovski opening at -185, currently -175. Ortega opening at +160, currently +150. And I do want to get into the stats on this one, as I do think they're very important. So Volkanovski, his stats are phenomenal, right? He lands 6.02 significant strikes per minute with a 55% striking accuracy, absorbing only 3.31 with a positive 2.71 significant strike differential and a 60% striking defense. Brian Ortega, he lands 4.29 significant strikes per minute with a 38% accuracy. Now, he absorbs 6.28, and a lot of this is because of the Max Holloway fight. Max Holloway set a record at the time in significant strikes on Brian Ortega. But you take a look at all Brian Ortega's fights, and he's getting outlanded in just about every one of them. But yeah, that Max Holloway fight does inflate the stats here for sure. So he does absorb 6.28 with a negative 1.199 significant strike differential, only a 52% striking defense. So I favor Volkanovski in the striking. I think he's going to be the better striker, more volume, more defensively sound. Brian Ortega's a very hittable guy. We'll talk about the Korean Zombie fight in a second and how good he looked and the improvements and all that, but we take a look at the grappling stats. Volkanovski does land 2.09 takedowns per 50 minutes, 34% accuracy. Ortega has a 56% takedown defense. I think if Volkanovski wants the takedowns, Ortega will allow it. It's just that wouldn't be a good idea to do that. I think Volkanovski is the one to keep this on the feet and strike with Ortega for 25 minutes or until somebody gets finished. Ortega lands 0.8 takedowns per 50 minutes, 21% accuracy, not the best wrestling, but his ground game is top-notch. So Ortega takes a layoff after that Max Holloway fight, that life-changing beating 2 years and 9 months ago. He comes back against the Korean Zombie 10 months ago, and he looks like a completely different fighter. I mean, he looked a lot better than he did in the Max Holloway fight, right? And he did good. He did very good against Korean Zombie. He definitely surprised me, right? He outlands the Korean Zombie 127-62. He even takes down the Korean Zombie 3 times, which is very impressive considering the Korean Zombie has a phenomenal takedown defense. He showed improvements in his striking. He showed improvements in his striking defense. And, you know, he's very dangerous. He's always been very dangerous. He's finishing the majority of his fights inside the distance. I believe all of his wins in the UFC are inside the distance outside of that Korean Zombie fight. And again, Korean Zombie's very, very tough, very durable because Ortega hit Korean Zombie with that spinning back elbow that would have put anybody else out in the division. But Zombie was able to eat that, and he just did not look the same after he did absorb that spinning back elbow, which makes sense, right? It's a tough fight to call. I mean, I think Volkanovski is going to be winning the minutes of this fight. I think he's the better striker. I think he's going to have success in that aspect. It's just Brian Ortega is very dangerous. We have seen Volkanovski get hurt before. Max Holloway dropped him a couple times, and Ortega's very live to potentially hurt Volkanovski. He's going to have 25 minutes to do it, but if he does not hurt Volkanovski, I think Volkanovski runs away with a decision here. I'm going to take Volkanovski to win, but I do realize how dangerous Ortega is. If this fight hits the mat, Ortega's very live, obviously. If it hits the mat, whether it's him potentially taking down Volkanovski. He took Holloway down twice. He took the Korean Zombie down 3 times. Both of those are not easy to do. If Ortega can potentially get Volkanovski down, that could be something to look at, or just hurting Volkanovski on the feet. But in terms of who's going to be winning the minutes of this fight, who's going to be ahead, I think it's Volkanovski. Outside of him getting caught in a submission or him getting hurt bad and knocked out, I think Volkanovski does win a decision here. So I'm going to take Volkanovski to win, and I will take him to win by decision. So that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for sticking it with me and watching. If you guys can leave a like on your way out and also subscribe if you have not already. Comment down your significant strikes. If you do want early access to my bets, I do have 3 of them, plus the parlay of last week. One pretty sizable bet as well. Check it out. If not, I always post my bets for free every Saturday. Twitter, DFS_numbers, and Instagram, DFS by the numbers. They're posted there every Saturday. Also do a betting breakdown video as well, and then a live stream on Saturday, best bet with me and the guys giving the best bet for each and every fight on the card. So lots of content for UFC 266. Good luck. This card's phenomenal. I can't wait to go to it and watch it in person. It's going to be fun, going to be exciting. And yeah, good luck, guys, and let's make some money for UFC 266. See ya.